Gina, how did you find carnivore?
Well, first of all, I want to say hi, Dave. It's good to talk to you again. And I want to thank you because you are doing amazing work for carnivore community. So it's just exciting to see everything you're doing there. I started carnivore. Now it's got to be over 3 years. I want to say 3 years, 4 months maybe that I've been doing carnivore. And I'm glad to see it getting traction now. It's not quite as weird. Back, a little over 3 years ago, it was still kind of on the weird side. Had a lot of health issues. Just was constantly searching for something, to get me through these health issues. And I'd been through the gamut. I've been through um, veganism. I've been through standard healthy diet. I was an exerciser. Um, but just, doing those rabbit hole YouTube searches, started actually initially with an article from a former vegan who talked about how she had been a vegan, had a lot of health issues, and eventually came to carnivore. And that article helped a lot. I wish I could remember the name of the article right now because I'd love to share it. It was really good. But anyway, same, path as all of us. You're desperate. You're having a lot of health issues. When I in my younger years, I came through the whole fat makes you fat movement of the 90s. That was huge. I mean, and I got into that big time. Like, I like to exercise. I like to stay fit. I like to exercise. So I wanted to also eat proper way. For me, a typical breakfast would be maybe cornflakes with tons of cereal and skim milk. Lunch might be the same, or a salad with just vinegar because you can't put oil. You can't have a oil based salad dressing, because that's fat. So just vinegar. Using the fake butter sprays on all my food. So that was my 20s basically. Probably my 30s, I got a little, not so crazy, a little bit better, but still eating, healthy, still low fat, um, doing fine through my 30s. But once I hit my 40s, started to, especially into my later 40s, started developing a lot of health issues. Um, and I'm convinced that there is, I mean, we call it, a lot of times you hear about metabolic syndrome for people. And I'm convinced there's some form of that women start to get as they head into like perimenopause and, into their 40s and stuff, that it's definitely metabolic in nature, because I've talked to so many women who have the same constellation of health issues. They'll start getting fatigue, they'll start getting joint pain, of course, weight gain, IBS, anxiety, brain fog, being tired all the time. Just so many people saying that they feel like they're 45 going on 85, and that's exactly how I felt.
And I guess the worst thing is you probably most women are probably kind of just feel, well, this is just the experience of getting older.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, because
Mm.
it's so common. I've talked to so many women, um same experience, and that was me. I guess my top issue was IBS. That was the one that was really affecting my life badly. It was interfering with my work. We talked last time. I'm a dental hygienist, and I see between 8 and 11 patients a day. It's not the kind of job that you can run off to the bathroom for. It's not, you're having any gas issues or whatever. You're around people all day long, and it's just not conducive to that. So it was really interfering with my job. Um, so that was getting really just all consuming, you know? It's like my whole brain was um consumed with what was going on with my stomach. And so that was the worst one. But I was having a lot of joint pain, I was having anxiety, fatigue, and I was desperate. I'm thinking I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm eating fairly well, what I considered eating well. I was exercising, and I was just like desperate. Like, why? I don't know. You have a big pity party. Like, why me? Like, I mean, there's bigger issues in the world. There's people with, you know, cancer and all that, and I'm having a pity party. But still, life was just it was hard. It was very hard.
It's quite depressing, right? When you can't go through your normal routine of the day because of these kind of interruptions with like,
Yeah.
oh, I've got to find a bathroom.
Yeah, yeah, I know, and it always sounds silly when talk to people about it. When I saying it, it almost sounds silly in a way, but it is. It's just disruptive. It's just I don't know if too many people understand what it's like to be thinking about bathroom issues all day. It's dumb, but anyway, that was life, and so the first time I thought about what I'm gonna do is I have a very good friend who's vegan, and she was my running partner, and she seemed to be doing well. And that was when it was really at the height, I think, the peak of like vegan. That's the Game Changers movie came out, and Forks Over Knives and all that kind of stuff. And I watched all that stuff, and it just seemed like the right thing to try. So I went down that path for a little bit. I lasted about 18 months. And I think for a lot of people, their experience is, the first several months they do pretty good because they've really cleaned up their diet. But it, pretty quickly went downhill. And I kept trying to cling to it and trying to figure out, like, well, I have particular food sensitivities. And if I can just remove certain things and really figure out which ones are the ones that are bothering me. So I was constantly playing around with my diet. But I have to say, looking back, it was very high in carbohydrates, obviously, but like very sugary. Like, still, even though I wasn't adding sugar, I was, having oatmeal with maple syrup and dates, and so it still was very high sugar content. And really nothing got better, and then eventually things got worse. My joint pain got a lot worse. I want to say my anxiety probably got worse. IBS probably probably the same at that point. It still wasn't better, it wasn't worse. um and again, just desperate. And then I threw my hands up in the air and said, I don't care, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. Um, that lasted about 6 months, and again, just came back around to I have to do something. At that point, now I'm gaining weight. Now, for the first time in my life, I'm having weight problems, which I never really did in my life. And now I put on 20 pounds, um, on top of everything else. And yeah, I found this one article online. It was a very long article. I really wish I could remember the name of it. I wish I should have wrote it down. But anyway, it was very long. She actually put chapters in it. It was so long. But that was the first time I really kind of considered meat as being healthy. Um, you know, I think up until then, I thought of meat as a protein, and you should have a little bit of it, after the whole vegan thing, and kind of getting back to eating again, that you should eat a little bit of it, just enough to get your protein in. Um, eggs were still kind of a bit, there's something you could have sparingly because they're so high in cholesterol and all this stuff. So it was definitely eye opening, and but I was like, you know what do I have to lose? I'll try it. If I don't feel any better, well, I'm in the same boat I'm in, now. So I'm either gonna feel better or the same. So so I just gave it a whirl, and did not do it cold turkey. I know some people just one day, boom, they're in. I was afraid to do that. So I did about a 6 week um, transition. So I started putting more meat and eggs in, taking other foods out. The first thing that went from was vegetables because I was like, I know that bothers my stomach. I know. So I was like, that was an easy one. Goodbye vegetables. Um, but yeah, it took about 6 weeks. And it was pretty shocking how quickly I started feeling better, especially once I got past the transition because and I never had keto flu or anything like that. I think the transition helped with that. I was so that helped. But like once I was fully carnivore, the changes started to really happen, like the IBS gone, just gone. And joint pain gone. I lost the 20 pounds. That took 4 months maybe. And yeah, about 4 months to lose the 20 pounds. Just everything. Anxiety. That was one that surprised me. I was not looking for a solution to anxiety really. I just figured that was part of my personality, as part of who I was. So for that to go away too was kind of pretty cool. And I was thinking about this today, kind of going, refreshing my memory over everything because it's been over 3 years. And the weird thing is I kind of almost forget a little bit. It's been so long that it's just routine now. It's part of my life. It's just what I do. I kind of almost don't think about it anymore. So when I was thinking about, doing this interview, I was like, oh, I have to really kind of remember what it was like to feel sick all the time and feel miserable. And it's actually good probably to stop once in a while and remember that because, just to be thankful and grateful. But I'm in such a rhythm of life right now where I feel good. My weight stays the same. I I don't have anxiety, I don't have stomach problem. It's just life. I'm just going and I'm eating it's like second nature. I had to actually take a minute to kind of think back to everything that I was going through so I could, talk about it again. But I'm like this gave me an opportunity to remember where I was and, where how far I've come. And like I said, it's been over 3 years, and it's still working out great. I'm not bored at all. I think the only change I've made since the last time I talked to you is I still used to eat 3 meals a day for the longest time, and I've worked my way down to 2 meals a day. Um, just it's more convenient, like I don't get hungry in the middle of the day really. So I have breakfast and then I have dinner. So it's
Um, uh, does anyone kinda say to you, "How come you don't eat during the day?" That's a bit weird, isn't it?
eh, because I can leave for lunch. A lot of people don't know what I'm doing for lunch, so I so I go take a walk on my lunch break. Yep.
Oh, nice. Have you had any family or friends kinda comment on it?
Yeah, I get a lot of questions and everybody's been really supportive. I haven't really had anyone, give me a hard time, and they're happy. They're happy I found something. I've come close to having people try it. But most people are like, "Oh, I love, this food too much or that food too much." So, my husband's pretty I can't say he's carnivore, but he can go stretches carnivore-ish. But he still has his, favorite foods too. But he enjoys those days. Like if there's several nights a week where we have steaks or whatever and that's it, he's fine with that. He doesn't need the sides. Yep.
So, the what was the when you first got started and you noticed, like, the IBS is not there anymore, What
Mm.
was your reaction when, like, I'm imagining you didn't notice at first, but then you got through a day and realized, "I wasn't running to the bathroom. I wasn't feeling like an" what was that like when you had that realization?
Oh, ecstatic. Just really, amazed, really amazed. And then grateful. I back then, of course, when it was on my mind every day I was amazed. Every day that I at the end of the day and realized what a good day it was, I was appreciative and thankful and amazed.
So, day to day, is that, steak and eggs that you're having for each meal?
So mornings are eggs. I have like 4 eggs over easy with a little bit of goat cheese, a little bit of butter. I'm a creature of habit. I love the same food every day. Even before carnivore, I would eat the same food for breakfast every day. I'd eat oatmeal every day. But that's my favorite meal of the day, my eggs. And then for dinner is usually either steak or hamburgers. Sometimes I'll cook up some bacon too and have a little bacon. I make chicken wings a lot for my husband and my son, so I might partake of those a little bit. Fish once in a while, uh, but mostly steak and hamburgers are my staples.
Right.
Mhm.
And you must kind of feel like you have a bit more freedom or, less less tied down to the kitchen now that you're not even thinking about the food, you're not even thinking about the meals, you're just kinda eating, you're done.
Yes. For me, unfortunately, I'm going to tell you the one downside of carnivore is, as a mom anyway, I still have to cook for other people. And I'm really uninterested in the meals. You know what I mean? It's different if you're going to cook a meal that you are also going to eat and you're interested in, but to make a meal for other people that you have no interest in, I'm like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be 55 this year. I've been cooking for 35 years. I'm like so over coming up with these different meals and you know what I mean? But they eat a little different than I do, so I still cook for them. But so that's the one downside is having to cook meals for other people that you're not going to eat.
Right, and so how do you manage that? Do you just kinda cook all the meals as if you were gonna eat them, and then you just add something to theirs?
Yeah, so some nights are just pretty easy because I can make a meat and then just throw a couple sides together if they want them. Like I said, my husband's not always big on sides. My son still likes to eat kind of regularly. But then there's nights when they're not so much my husband. My son's a big chicken. He loves chicken. And so on those nights, I'll usually still make myself burgers or steak and then I usually ask them, give me some ideas this week. What do you want this week? And then, just try to accommodate. But that's if it was just me that I had to cook for, this would be super easy. Super easy.
So, can you ever see yourself going back or moderating in some way?
No. No. I have given myself some wiggle room on some things as treats. Like in the summertime, a couple times over the summer, I'll have ice cream. Um, Christmas time, I'll have a sliver of pie or whatever. And it thankfully it has not bothered me. It has not affected me. And I know there's always a talk between people who are moderators and abstainers. I can eat a little bit of something and be okay and not go crazy. So I allow myself a little wiggle room. I have experimented with fruit. um I don't really I feel like I feel better without it, so I've eaten it here and there just for the taste of it. But I actually feel better if I don't eat it, so I probably have fruit once a month maybe, just for so I have a little more wiggle room now and I don't worry as much Um, I feel like I'm in a good place where, if I have a cookie or something like that, it's not going to derail me. It's not going to cause me um, stomach problems, anything, that's the only little bit of variation there. And that doesn't happen really that often. Usually it's special occasions or I had one of my son had a friend bake cookies for us, and she asked me to have one. Oh, you got to try one, and so I have one. And no big
Mm.
deal.
Yeah, so I guess, it's good to be in that situation where you've been on carnivore long enough that you can just have a digression here or there, and it's fine, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's where I'm again happy at where I am now because I feel like I have a not that I need much flexibility, but I have a little flexibility. I feel like man, my health has reached a really good point where I do have that little bit of wiggle room, but I don't really have too much desire for it. Um, so yeah, that's been good. I think we talked last time. Patients. I still try to talk to patients about carnivore. At my work, and I have now. Now that it's growing a little bit, I have a handful of people who are doing carnivore. It's funny. There was a patient who was in the room next to me with another hygienist, and I could hear them talking about it. He's like, "Oh, the hygienist, did you lose weight?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "I'm doing carnivore," and I'm in my room with my patient, like dying, like chomping at the bit, because I'm like, I want to go in there and talk to this guy. So at the end, I went around. I know the patient. We're familiar with each other, so I ran around the corner at the end, and I'm like, "All right, let's talk carnivore." And it was fun. He lost 20 pounds. He was talking about how great he felt. You know how it is when what do they say? How do you know somebody went carnivore? Don't worry, they'll tell you because you can tell he's excited. He's like just all animated, and people get excited talking about it, and that's how he was. So I had a few patients like that.
So, I wonder, so the other thing is, the fact that you're talking to them, um, in the job that you do, like, actually, what they will notice once they go carnivore is, like, their oral health will improve as well, right? They'll feel like, "Oh, like, it feels cleaner, it feels better."
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And and I will try to send people in that direction, even if it's not carnivore, is just explain to them their high carb diet. I have so many patients who have a lot of decay and they understand not, the idea of sweets. They'll know, well, I really don't eat that many sweets. And I say it's not just sweets, it's how much bread you're eating, how much pasta you're eating, cookies, crackers, rice, any kind of carb that and that surprises them. They're thinking candy, no candy, but they don't realize. So even if I can just get them on low carb for their oral health and send them in that direction. But yeah, that's something I noticed for myself too. Like my teeth never feel um, a lot of times, for most people, when they wake up in the morning, their teeth will feel fuzzy because the plaque is starting to build up in their mouth. And my teeth never feel fuzzy in the morning, So yeah, I notice it my own oral health too. So, but yeah, so I talked to them about that, and then plus I know their health histories as well. So a lot of times I see how many medications they're on, and it still breaks my heart. It's still something that's heavy on my heart every day is to see how many people are so sick. Like one day I think I took a little mental note. So that day I saw like 11 patients, and I said I'm going to take a mental note of anyone who just seems to be metabolically healthy, within the right weight range, not on a bazillion medications. And I think it was like two of the 11. And that's every day. Every day, it's the majority of my patients are. on all sorts of medication and are overweight. And I see people in their 60s walking in with a cane, or um, and I always just feel so bad. I always just wish they could take control and get off, you know, guide their health into a better place.
And the really sad thing about this is that in the last 40, 50 years, this is completely flipped, right? So now
Mm.
it's the two people of 11 that are metabolically healthy. In the past, it was the opposite way around, right? It was like
Mm.
11 that were metabolically.
Yeah, yeah. I know we always see the pictures, like that kind of make their way around of beaches in the 70s, or anything like that. And it makes you wonder, I mean, we know what it is, but like it's just got to be a combo of things too, like the seed oils and the high carb diet, and it's good to see what's happening, at our at the federal level now. It seems like people are taking more notice. We're seeing food dyes getting taken out, and I don't know if you saw. Do you remember? It was about 6 months ago. They did the hearings in front of, like, Senate hearings. It was hosted by, I think, Johnson. I think, I can't remember his first name, but
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, 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 I remember seeing that on TV, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I don't know how many people paid attention to it, but they brought so many things to the attention. I noticed everyday people started talking about seed oils after that, and dyes and things like that. And so, I mean, people are getting a lot of pushback too, but I mean, it's kind of good to see these things starting to come out more and come to the forefront more.
And I think this is the important thing is, like, it's not necessarily how much stuff gets banned or legislated against or whatever it is.
Mm.
Just having the conversation
Hmm.
and people starting to talk more about it is so important. Because, like, when I was a kid, there was a thing in Australia about MSG, and, like, there were things on the TV about MSG, and suddenly everyone was talking about that and avoiding MSG and that kind of thing. So I think it's really important, just get the conversation happening, right?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And it's kind of funny where I've come, because I always kind of considered myself like kind of libertarian, and so years ago when they were talking about the soda, there was places here in the US where they were banning certain sizes of soda. It's not that I would want them banning soda, but they were banning certain sizes. And that kind of didn't really make any sense to me. It's like, so I'm not for any, like, banning, foods or whatever, but particular ones like dyes and things like that. Like, it's been a weird process for me to think about that. Like, am I for banning foods or not? And I think it's more ones like the dyes that they, firmly know that they've seen some links to cancers and things like that. Then I'm like, yeah, that might be something we want to. But I'm not, usually, like you said, I'd rather let people know and make decisions, for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the issue. Like, most people are making decisions for themselves, but they're making decisions for themselves based on not having any information about what they're actually ingesting, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So, how would you advise someone to get started with carnivore?
Um, I think the best way is to go slow, but everybody's different. I would say, if you are super motivated and you're just like, that's it, I need a change, I'm ready, and they are a, rip the band-aid off kind of person, then go for it, try it. But I feel like, because for me, I never had the keto flu, and so I feel like transition is not a bad option. I know people want to get going and to hear like 6 weeks before, if somebody wants to lose weight and they think it's going to be 6 weeks before I'm really going to see results. It might be hard, but it goes by so quickly, but still each their own. But I would say, don't be afraid of these foods if you come from the mindset that most of us came from. You get a little tentative, like, can I really have, 4 or 5 eggs a day? Can I is it really okay to have, this much fat in my food? So to try to let go of those fears a little bit, and just try it. Just try it, and tweak it and play with it, you know what I mean? See what works best for you. I definitely would say go full carnivore, at first, before you start experimenting with, fruits and things like that. Some people, they add a vegetable or a fruit in and they do okay, but I definitely say go full carnivore first. Give that a couple months, because you might find you feel so good, you don't really feel the need for anything else. So
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, just to transition in, but once you're in there, you gotta try and stay 100% carnivore for 2 or 3 months, because
mhm.
the feeling you're gonna have is really important to kinda go, "Okay, I feel really good now. I've eliminated everything, and now if I'm gonna test putting things back in, I'm gonna know now what effect those things have on me," right?
Yeah. 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 And that's what's nice about it too, is, um, you definitely get a better sense for your body and what you tolerate and what you don't. When you're eating everything, there's no way to understand what foods are bothering you. But when you pare it down so much, you definitely can, have this better connection with your body.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, Gina, is there any way people can reach out to you? Do you have any social media or any way of getting in contact?
I have a YouTube channel, but I'm not very active on it. I mean, so it's the camping carnivore. And I probably haven't done anything there in like 6 months, but I keep saying I'm gonna get back at it. Well, life. I'm just working a lot, and so. But there's hope. Maybe subscribe, and maybe I'll I'll get some stuff on there. Oh, I wanted to add one more thing about, recommendations for people who are starting carnivore is, not get nervous over your labs, because, that's all nuanced stuff, and but we're learning so much right now about the role of, cholesterol and LDL and HDL and all that in our bodies and how it works. And I love the work by like Nick Norowitz. I follow a lot of his stuff. So I follow some carnivore groups, and the question comes up several times a day, every day. I went to my doctor, and here's my blood work, and I'm worried, and my doctor wants to push statins. And so I really wish there was more of an understanding, of how all that works. I would never 100% tell somebody don't worry about it, but 99% of the time, if you've got good HDL, if you've got good triglycerides, um, if you want to make yourself feel better, get a CAC score done. Which that's what I did. My cholesterol is high, but my CAC score is 0. My HDL is wonderful. My triglycerides are wonderful. But that's going to take a lot of undoing to do, too. Just like unlearning that, eggs and, red meat are bad for you. Unlearning uh, how all this works, how our body transports energy, all that. That's going to take some unlearning too. So,
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think the biggest problem is, yeah, we've had this mindset for so long,
mhm.
and yeah, it's all about realizing there's more nuance to it than just X bad, Y good, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
yeah, it's a process, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think one of the keys is your body's not gonna lie to you. Your body's not
Mm.
going to tell you the wrong thing, right? So
Yes.
if you're feeling good, then that's a pretty good sign you're on the right path, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I say that all the time too. It's like how can I feel so good and I've got to, my health is about ready to, I'm about ready to die, So,
Y
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So, I'll link to your channel in the show notes. Gina, thank you so much for coming on and letting us know how things are going. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. And I really appreciate you. Your work is, you're working hard and we appreciate it.